The cross. One beam horizontal, the other vertical. One reaches out like God's love, the other reaches up, as does God's holiness. The cross is the intersection. The journey to this cross began long before Galilee. It didn't begin in Nazareth or even in Bethlehem. In the aftermath of Eden, in the wake of the fall, it was there where Jesus began his march for Calvary.
And let me let you know, we have an actual majority of white people, majority of Hispanic people, majority of Asian people. Yes, I've been to an Asian church here in Omaha. I went there for the food. And then there's a majority of African American black people. But the really awesome thing about Bellevue Christian Center is we have such a good diversity. And let me let you know, when someone's up here singing and they sing something or they play a note that it just hits you down in this area. Like when they do that, man, you guys, I need you guys to get a little gospel in those moments. Like, Even here's a word that sometimes you guys are afraid to say when you're like, amen, girl, amen, sing it. That's exactly how I sound sometimes too. We're like, amen, get it, girl. But I'm not white, so you can't say that. Yeah, that is sometimes an appropriate response. Just to let you know, if you ever hear me go, Steve, like there we go, then we have an appropriate response. But yes, we are not a boring, quiet, silent youth group. Revolution. We have really awesome teenagers. You guys like to feed the speaker. Let me know I'm doing a good job sometimes, and I love it. But really cool. Well, last week started off, I put some pictures up there. I don't know if you guys remember. I put some pictures up there, and then you realize there was a little bit something more to this picture. I'm going to show you one in just a second. But me and my wife were driving yesterday, and there's just sometimes you take it, like, there's sometimes you see something and you have to take a picture of it. This happened to be on someone's window. I'm not going to show it yet. Don't spoil it. This happened to be on someone's window, right? And I was literally driving really slowly so Brianna could get a picture of it so the car could speed up. They probably thought we were crazy. But Brianna, I was driving slowly. I'm not really a slow driver. And so this car pulls closer and closer and closer, and there's like 100 yards in between me and the next car, and we're at like a red light. And so I'm just stopped, big gap in this car. And we took a picture, and it's one of those things where it's like just perfect placement. I'll just let you know, a bird dropped a deuce at the best spot ever. Do I have any Tinkerbell fans in the room? Some of y'all. My daughter's a Tinkerbell fan, so I really thought it was funny. But this is what my wife and I saw the other day. How can you not take a picture of that? It looks like Tinkerbell had a really unfortunate night. But all right, take it off. But we put up some pictures and talked about how if you look a little bit closer, you're inclined to notice certain things. And then if you look closer even still, you might notice that the picture is more than what you thought or not exactly what you thought. I then read some scripture from the Old Testament, and I followed it with a question behind every scripture. Do you guys remember that question that I asked after every scripture? What was it? Can you see it? Can you see it? And it was awesome because I would ask that, and I would just see your guys' head. No. Do I see the letters? Do I see the screen? You guys were just, So, and it was really cool. Some of you guys got it. But talking about the whole idea of everything in the Old Testament from the fall of man was pointing to one amazing, great event, which was, what was it? The cross. Are you guys even listening to me? So everything in the Old Testament was pointing towards one central event, and it was the cross. And anytime the Bible had an opportunity to share about the cross or to prophesy about the cross, it would take that advantage. And so we read through some scriptures, and I only read through a tiny bit of scriptures that pointed to the cross. There's a lot more, and if you guys choose, you guys can read through more. It's all over the Old Testament. You can see them saying that Jesus is coming. And then at the end of it, I gave us all a challenge. I challenged us in our lives to take the opportunity to look for the cross, to see the cross. Because when you look at the cross, you realize Jesus gave me my best, or gave me his best up there, so maybe I can give him my best right here. Or Jesus stayed committed to you when he was being nailed to the cross, so maybe I can be committed to him when life gets a little tough. And we walked away with this challenge to flood social media with images of the greatest event that ever happened, images of the cross. I challenge you guys to just look for the cross in anything, in windows, in floors, in people. I don't know if any of you guys actually saw it. Maybe you could like make a formation. Yeah, actually, I guess something did. So I asked you guys to do it, and you guys did a great job. There was just a ridiculous amount of pictures taken, and I want to see what continues to come up, so I'm going to continue to challenge you guys to take pictures to put in there, can you see it, and then hashtag it cross-eyed. But I have some of my favorite pictures that I picked out from this last week. This first one is something that happened at Revolution. One of our production guys did it. They were looking for the cross, and it's funny because as I go through all of these, I saw people like commenting like, see what? But it's so cool because they don't even know what they're looking at. They don't even know what we're looking at. And what a great opportunity, an open door for you to go, hey, we're just looking for the cross that Jesus died on to save our souls. Great opportunity. This next one, this person found the cross while moving some tables. They were just moving tables, and they found the cross. As they were serving, they found an image reminding them that Jesus first served them. Do you see it? What do you see? Exactly. Should have said a table. Just kidding. Someone else, they saw it just looking out into a neighborhood. That's awesome that you can just look into the neighborhood that you live in and you can see the cross. This person, I guess, went over to their friend's house and found a gazillion of them hanging up throughout the whole house. Can you guys see the cross? Daviana, how many crosses are in that house? All right. This next one was a cross that was found in the woods, just on the side of the street. That one's just really cool. Hashtag phone background. This one was found on the tile in a floor or in a wall or maybe in a bathroom. This next person, I love this one. This next person found the cross in a sport that they really loved. And this one is just awesome. But someone found the cross in a quirky friendship that they had. In parentheses, we had nothing better. Let me biblically correct you. There is nothing better than the cross. So you are, in fact, accurate. You do not have anything better than the cross. All right. This is what I need. Give me one volunteer. Who do I want? Oh, I want to choose wisely. All right, redhead dude in the back, come on up. Okay, what's your name, homie? I can't remember your name right now.
Adam.
Adam. Guys, this is Adam. Adam, what life group do you go to? What Adam do you go to? What life group do you go to, Adam? What Adam do you go to, life group?
180.
He goes to 180. All right, Adam goes to 180. Adam, this is what we're going to do. I need you to stand right here, homie. Right here. Adam, I'm going to try something. I'm going to play a game that probably most of you have played in life group for a while, and I'm going to give you a mission. And when I say this, most people are going to know what this game is. Your mission is to not smile. Okay? Adam, your whole mission is to not smile. I was going to play the game Honey If You Love Me, but I was like, let's not do that. See, now, Adam, you have that mission. Their all mission is to try to get you to smile. All right? So, Revolution, what I need is I'm going to need some of you guys who think you can break him. I need some of you guys. Just come on up. If you want to try it, just come on up. And I need you guys, without making contact, come on up. If you want to try it, come on up. And I just need some of you guys to try and make him smile. Let's see. Oh. All right, who else? Come on. Oh! All right, you guys go sit down. Man, Adam, I was hoping you'd last a little longer than that. No. Now, Adam, all I asked you to do was to not smile. Is that so difficult?
Yeah.
180, does Adam smile a lot? All right. I basically just asked you to close your mouth and do nothing.
Yeah.
And you still had trouble doing that.
Yeah.
No, I get it. Hey, give Adam a hand. Give Adam a hand. What I did was I gave Adam a mission. I gave him a mission, right? By the way, I'm really good at that game. It's hard to make me smile. We'll try another time. But I gave Adam a mission not to smile, and he broke. Here's the interesting thing. That game is really easy if there's no one else around you in life. And you guys are all going to be given a mission or a calling in life, and I promise you that mission, that calling is going to be really easy if there's no one else around, but that's not the case for life, is it? How many of you guys, like me, find yourself getting distracted very easily? Any of y'all? You're like that dude on Up, like, squirrel, like that's you. It's kind of I get distracted very easily. I've gotten better over the years, but it's a game that some people in my close circle we play sometimes. If Andy is ever in a room and I'm on a platform, I guarantee you he's in the back of the room trying to make me smile. I remember we were at Week Long, and I was up on the platform, and I looked back at the sound booth, which, by the way, Week Long's coming up in July. But I look up at the production booth, and Steve and Taylor are back there, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do this right. I wish they were in here. They were back there doing this. And not only that, I had taken pictures of Russ making different faces on my iPad, and I literally, I don't have it on here, but I literally stood back there while DJ was up there, and I held it in front, and I just swiped through the different faces. Like, I don't know why. Does anyone else get excited when you get to distract other people? And not only that, it's hard. It's really difficult to not get distracted when you have these devices, these really awesome devices in front of your face or with close proximity. Some of you guys are being distracted by these little devices right now as I speak. So being distracted is hard enough. It's so easy to be distracted by this, by the way, that I had to take Instagram and Facebook off of my phone because I realized I was spending too much time on Facebook and Instagram, and I need to spend more time in my daughter's face hanging out with her. So I had to prioritize. Am I going to let this continue to distract me from a greater mission instead of checking my status updates, of checking on how my daughter's doing or how my son's doing and making time for them? Distractions are all around us. There are some, like a phone, that you can control. You can control the distractions that are on your phone. Some of you guys are trying to break free of sin, yet you still have this really, in my opinion, I really don't like this app because of what I think it majorly gets used for. But some of you guys still have this thing on your phone called a Snapchat. Distraction. Distraction. There's some distractions you can control, you can erase, you can get rid of, and there's other ones like people that are always going to be around. With that said, you do get to decide what people you put yourself around. That right there will help you with a lot of distractions. Some of you guys, when you come to Revolution, you need to sit by different people because the people you're sitting with right now are distracting you from God's voice, and he desperately wants to speak with you. So there's things that we can control. There are things that we can't control. And it's really hard to stay focused. Where's Alexis at? Alexis, where you at? Homegirl, where's she at? No, where's the other Alexis? Where'd she go? Did she take off? She left. Well, anyway, me and Alexis had a conversation a couple weeks ago because she's been trying really hard to stay away from self-harm. And there were things that drove her to it, and so she had to take herself out of those distractions to stay focused on what she was doing. And she was able to be, I think she's now like 100 days free of self-harm, and that is so awesome. But we have Christmas every year, which celebrates Jesus coming to the earth. But when he arrived on the earth, from the day of his birth, the Bible knew, and Jesus knew, his one main reason for being here. And that reason is the cross. Jesus was here for the cross. That was his finish line. That's what everything in his life was going to. He knew it, and on several occasions in his ministry, he put attention to it. He let his disciples know. He let the people around him who were listening and following him know. He let the Pharisees know. He let everyone know of it and reminded them of it. But most importantly, I think Jesus was reminding himself of it. Because just as much as Jesus was fully God while he was on earth, we have to remember he was also fully man. And there was probably a lot of times that Jesus could have gotten distracted, but he reminded himself. And I've got a couple of scriptures of when he did it. Mark 31 says, he then began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed and after 3 days rise again. Luke 18:31, Jesus took the 12 aside and told them, we are going up to Jerusalem, and everything that is written by the prophets about the Son of Man will be fulfilled. He will be delivered over to the Gentiles. They will mock him, insult him, and spit on him. They will flog him and kill him. On the third day, he will rise again. Jesus is reminding him. John 2:18, verses 18 and 19. The Jews then responded to him, what sign can you show us to prove your authority to all this? And Jesus answered, destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days. They thought he was talking about the temple they were standing in front of, but Jesus was talking about himself. How many of you guys are going to start referring to yourself as the temple? Some of you guys need to keep your eyes on your own temple. But everything, that's always relevant. I could be in a room full of married men and that'd be relevant. But everything in Jesus' ministry, when he was here on earth, he was born, he was baptized, he was tried, he would heal people, he raised people from the dead, he taught people, he provided for people. Everything he did on his ministry is pointing towards that one essential event, which was the cross. Was the cross. The very thing that we are charged with looking for. To see the cross in everything. And tonight, what we're going to talk about in relation to the cross is that was Jesus' purpose. And just as Jesus had a purpose and it was the cross, your cross might be something different, but it's still your purpose. It's not the purpose that you want to have necessarily, but it's the purpose that God gave you. And anything less will leave you unfulfilled. Tonight, I want to let you guys all know, whether you feel like you have any worth in this world or not, you have a cross that you're walking towards. Sometimes you just have to see it. It's your purpose. So tonight, I'm going to share a story of something similar where a man kept his eye on the cross. He kept his eye on his mission, on his purpose, in the midst of a lot of things trying to distract him. This guy's name was Nehemiah. Some of you guys know Nehemiah. How many of y'all have ever heard of Nehemiah in the Bible? Some of y'all, a good amount of you, sweet. Nehemiah was not a general to an army. He wasn't like a wise person that was an advisor. He wasn't a king. He wasn't a priest. He wasn't even a leader. Nehemiah was a cupbearer. And yes, it is exactly what it is. He bears a cup, and he takes it to the king. How many of y'all would like to have that job? You're like, I'm hanging up my McDonald's apron right now. I'm going to be someone's cupbearer. I'm hiring for a cupbearer. It's a penny a day. And so you're like, hey, I got you a cup. Like, hey, you need some drink? He's like a glorified water boy. That's exactly what Nehemiah was. It was a little bit more than that because one of the cupbearer's responsibilities was to take a drink of what was in the cup and make sure it wasn't poison. How many of y'all now want that job? Oh, man. To be drinking something that might be poisonous, you'd be like, oh, Jesus. He was a cupbearer. There it is. There it is. Let's take a moment. She's just making the Steve call. That is all she is doing, and we love her for it. She may need someone to get her a cup of water. There you go. I should just start with this at the beginning of my message every time. Okay, so Nathan was a cupbearer. He wasn't anybody important. He wasn't anybody who was rich or wealthy. He was a cupbearer to a king, to actually, at this point, the most powerful king on earth. The king who owned the most soldiers, who owned the most land. He was the cupbearer to that king. And one time, his brother was visiting him. You see, the thing about Nehemiah is he was the cupbearer in a nation that wasn't his nation. It would be like if you guys had a job in Russia. And I said Russia because right now there's a lot of tension between Russia and the United States. Or maybe better yet, it'd be like you having a job in North Korea. Because the cupbearer, listen, the cupbearer that Nehemiah, the king that Nehemiah is the cupbearer for, is the king of the nation that conquered his people. Nehemiah is a cupbearer. He's a cupbearer. And so he's originally from Israel. And everyone in Israel loves their main city, which is called Jerusalem. Jerusalem still exists. I'm hoping someday in the next 5 years to go take a tour of Jerusalem and walk where Jesus walked. Go to the hill of Calvary. Go see the empty tomb. Like, I want to go see that. Jerusalem still exists. But Jerusalem wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Nehemiah. Let me tell you why. Nehemiah's brother comes to visit him, and he tells him about Jerusalem because obviously you're like, hey, how is everything going back home? Like, how's the family? I know you guys are still in captivity. How's everything going? And Nehemiah's brother tells him, it's not good. The walls of Jerusalem have been torn down. There's no city gates, and our city is open for attack. Now, back then, if a city had no walls, it had no security, it had no safety. And it was hard to do anything within that city because anything of worth was stolen, robbed, or vandalized or destroyed by people around because they wanted to keep Jerusalem down. And so Nehemiah goes to this king that he's the cupbearer for. And he tells the king, the king noticed that Nehemiah is upset. And so king's like, hey, what's going on? And Nehemiah is like, everything back home is just in ruins. The walls are torn down. People are dying. People are hurting. People are starving. And there's just no hope for my city, for my people, for my family anymore. And the cool thing is you can tell Nehemiah, as simple as a job as a cupbearer was, that Nehemiah did everything right and the best he could. He did it the best he could. Sometimes you guys are going to have a really crappy job or task, and you think because this is a really crappy job or task and this may not seem significant or your calling that you don't have to do it with everything that you have. That you think that you don't have to give it your best. When God calls us in every situation of life to give our best. And you can tell Nehemiah gave his best because God gave Nehemiah tremendous favor in the king's eyes, because what the king did next is the king sent Nehemiah to Jerusalem. Not only that, he didn't just say, you can go, you can help them. He sent Nehemiah with a letter, and this letter is basically the king's authority to travel wherever he wants to go. And if that wasn't enough, he also sent him with an army and horsemen to guard him and protect him on his journey. A cupbearer. Something awesome happens when you give your best in your work, and God will give you favor in the eyes of who you're working for. Nehemiah goes back to Jerusalem. And on his travel, in Nehemiah 2, verse 9 through 10, Nehemiah is saying, when I came to the governors of the province west of the Euphrates River, I delivered the king's letter, this letter that gave him authority to travel. The king, I should add, had sent along army officers and horsemen to protect me. But when Sanballat and Horonite and Tobiah, the Amorite official, heard of my arrival, they were very displeased that someone had come to help the people of Israel. Nehemiah saw his cross. He saw the cross. And he's on his way to that mission, to that end point. You guys are going to eventually, if you don't know now, some of you guys know a little picture of your cross, because your cross is going to be full of a lot of things, whether it's being a great father, or whether it's being a pastor, whether it's being a great dentist, whatever it is, you have a cross, and you'll see more of it as you go along with life and as you get closer to God. But you have this cross, and Nehemiah saw his cross. And as you walk towards your cross, I promise you, you are going to come across people who are unhappy about it. You are going to come across people who don't agree with what you're working towards. Honestly, you might even yourself not like the cross that you're walking towards. Let's be honest. If God called me to be abstinent, oh, Jesus. I would do it, but I would not like it. And my wife wouldn't like it either. I'm married. I have 3 kids. How do you think that happened? The stork, yeah, exactly. Some of you guys initially are not going to be very excited about the cross that lies in front of you, because maybe you made plans for something else. Wait a minute, Jesus. Hold on. How can you call me to that? You see, I had this plan worked out where I was going to get a scholarship, I was going to go to college, and I was going to make a lot of money. Oh, wait a minute, Jesus, how are you calling me to that? Because that's going to require me to break up with who I'm dating right now, because you want me to wait, because you have a plan for me in the future. I'm not sure I like that cross, Jesus. Oh, wait a minute, God, you're calling me to that? No one in my family is going to like it. Which, by the way, I can't tell you that my parents were super excited when I was interning here at a church for no money. And it's not because they disapproved, it's because they want to take care of me. You may not like the cross, and I promise you, there's going to be people that are going to get in your way that aren't going to like your cross either. I think of all those people every day when I drive by the abortion clinic that are out there praying. There's a lot of people that don't like that cross that they're walking towards. There's a lot of people, but they're staying focused. They're not allowing themselves to be distracted. And if you're that person where you may not like your cross yet, maybe you're not sold on it yet, you don't have to like your cross to believe in it. Let me change that. You don't have to be comfortable with your cross to believe in it. I do not like changing diapers. I hate changing diapers. But if I don't change diapers, my son gets sick. And that's a part of the cross that I want to walk towards because I want to be a good dad. You don't have to be comfortable or even like your cross to believe in it. You just have to keep getting closer to God, and he'll take care of everything else. The cross God calls you to might not make you a lot of money. It might not be politically correct, and people might even mock you and make fun of you for it. In Nehemiah 4:15, Sanballat was very angry when he learned that they were rebuilding the wall. Nehemiah gets to Jerusalem, and they begin to rebuild the wall, and Sanballat is angry because he conquered the area right then and there, and he didn't want Jerusalem to be strong, and so it says he was angry, and he flew into a rage and mocked the Jews. And if that's not enough, they tried to distract and confuse them. A few verses later in verse 8, it says, they all made plans. This is Sanballat and all the governors said, they all made plans to come and fight against Jerusalem to throw us into confusion. Oh. How many of you guys have ever been confused about something God said to you? Yeah. My hand is raised also, if you couldn't see. Revolution, if the devil can't destroy you, then at least he'll distract you. He knew he couldn't take down Adam and Eve. So what did he do? He distracted them. Some of us are giving into distraction. Some of us have been giving into these lies. This devil, he puts these lies into your head, and they sound something like this, and you may have heard some of these. Go through your mind. Is this really what God called me to? God wouldn't ask me to do something and make it this difficult, would he? No one else around me is doing this. Richard, God, you want me to be a Christian in my school? No one else is doing it. God, do you want me to be a light in my family? No one else is doing it. I've heard this next one. It says, I'm not good enough to do this. This is still a distraction that I battle every day. And then the one that we all fear, no one is following me. No one's around me. No one believes in me. And then we start to second guess. We take our eyes off the cross. We take our eyes off of the cross. Or you realize that these thoughts, these lies, aren't from God, and you begin to fight against them. Lucas, come on up. You begin to fight against them. You see, as Nehemiah has this great task of rebuilding the wall behind or around this huge city, as he has this great task, and as all these people from other nations are trying to distract him and confuse him, if that's not even enough, the people in Jerusalem that he was trying to help were trying to discourage him. I could preach on that for a long time when you try and help someone and they try and discourage you from helping them. I could preach a million messages on that. Nehemiah could have given in to all of that. He could have looked at all the people complaining. He could have looked at all the people around him that were trying to stop him and said, you know what? This is kind of too big for us. Maybe we'll just move to a different city. Or maybe this wasn't what you called me to do, God. Nehemiah 4, 17 and 18. Do I have that slide? It says, they all made plans to come and fight against Jerusalem and throw us into confusion. They all had plans to come and fight Jerusalem and throw them into confusion. Now, here's where I see a lot of young people fall short so often. We get really excited. Man, I heard from God. I felt God say this to me. And man, I'm so excited about it. I can't wait for it. And you wake up the next morning, the birds chirping, it's a beautiful day, and you're ready to go. Everything's right. Your friends are waiting for you outside, cheering you on, and you go for it. But then, a little bit of friction happens. Things don't work out perfectly how you thought. It wasn't as easy as you thought, and this is where I see a lot of young people jump ship. This is where I see a lot of young people drop their tools and walk away. But Nehemiah chose to fight. And one of the scriptures that is in Nehemiah talks about in the midst of these people around them trying to destroy them, these people rebuilding the wall, it says that they had a sword in one hand and their work in the other hand. They were literally building the wall as they were defending off attackers. They knew it wasn't going to be easy. How many of us just give up at the first sign of inconvenience? At the first sign of difficulty? At the first sign of getting our feelings hurt? How many of us take our eyes off the cross? We drop our weapon, we drop our tools, and we walk away. Think about this. And this is not to condemn anyone. And I'm not asking for people to raise hands. But how many people even in this room at one point you walked away from God? You walked away from Revolution. You walked away from Life Group. You went on your own for a while, and then you came back. Because you got distracted. And again, there's no condemnation. I did that. I actually did that for 2 years. For 2 years. And then I came back in Revolution, and thank God I'm standing here. Understand, Revolution, the devil's not a single wave attacker. He's going to continue to send waves and waves and waves and waves and waves and more waves. And then when you have this little good time in life, he's going to send more waves. But isn't it amazing that our God is stronger? Isn't it amazing that when you think you can't make ends meet, you stay faithful to God, and he says, you know what? You can't make ends meet. Good thing I can. All we have to do is not ignore the fact that things are tough, but be honest with God and say, God, this is really difficult right now. It's not stopping, but I'm not going to allow myself to compromise. I'm going to stick with you. I'm going to continue to carry my tools in one hand and my sword in the other. So how do we keep fighting? They had just about finished building the wall, and the enemies are like, we got to figure something out. We can't take them out. Like we have to figure something out. And so they're like, okay, well, Nehemiah is kind of the mastermind of it all. And if we take him out, then they'll stop. Because everyone else is kind of hopeless anyways. And so they devised this plan to try and meet with Nehemiah. They said, you know what, Nehemiah? We give up. Let's just meet. We just want to talk about it. Can we just talk about it? Like, just come down from the wall that you're building right now, and let's just talk about it really quick. Nehemiah was smarter, and he saw the distraction was one that was going to lead to his destruction, and he came up with this verse, and I need you guys to all remember this verse. I need you guys to all remember this verse, because when you look at your cross, and things get tough, you have to be able to encourage yourself with this verse. As the people are like, hey, Nehemiah, come down here and meet with us. Nehemiah's response In chapter 6, verse 3, he says, I'm doing a great work, and I can't come down. I'm doing a great work, and I can't come down. When temptations and people try and draw you away, what will your response be? Are you going to allow yourself like, well, yeah, they might have something good to say, so I'll just stop what I'm doing. Or, oh, yeah, well, that kind of looks like fun, and I kind of need a break from my work. Like, oh, like, what harm could it be for me just to step away from the wall for a little bit? Some of my leaders are getting really convicted right now because they've had those moments where they've almost stepped away. When people say, hey, come party with us, what's your response going to be? Maybe you remember this and you say, sorry, I can't. I'm working on being a self-controlled man who has responsibility, and I cannot come down to your level. Come on, girl. It's about time you gave it up. Stop being so prude. Sorry. I'm called to be a woman worth a great price that only one man will earn, and I can't come down. By the way, that will probably be the fastest way I will kick you out of Revolution, is if you disrespect a girl. So please don't ever hope that I hear you disrespect a girl in my youth ministry, by the way. Nothing gets me worked up more. Come on, it's just a little blade. Just try it with me. Just cut yourself just a little bit. Just try it with me. No, I value the life that God has given me, and I can't come down. Why are you going to try and change now? You're beyond being saved. You know what? You're right. But God's power is greater than your perception, and I can't come down. Don't step away from the wall. By the way, if you read the story of Nehemiah, it's very similar to the story of Jesus, where Jesus is up in heaven with God, the King, sees what's going on with the world, and says, God, King, Father, I want to go help. I want to rebuild our relationship, this wall that keeps us connected. And so God, instead of giving Jesus a letter, gave him authority. And then Jesus comes down to earth and is tried to be, and people try and stop him in the midst of it. But Jesus continually reminds himself, as Nia reminds himself, that he's doing a great work and he cannot come down. And even in the midst of the cross where Jesus is nailed and people are mocking him and saying, if you are as powerful as you say you are, then come off this cross right now. And Jesus says, I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. Whether Nehemiah is building a wall or Jesus is hanging on a cross, are you willing to see the cross and realize that you're doing a great work and you're not going to come down? Maybe some of you right now, you're down right now, and it's time to just get back up on the wall. It's time to get focused on the cross again. Remind yourself, if Jesus can walk towards the cross, then so can I. What's your cross? What's your wall? Maybe it's being a woman of purity. Maybe it's helping people get freed from the addiction of self-harm. Maybe that's your cross. Maybe it's being an example of a real man of God, not these phonies. And that's a real man of God. Maybe it's something I felt God called me to a long time ago, is being a great father, even if you didn't have one yourself. Maybe your cross is rescuing women from sex trafficking. Maybe there's a few of you where your cross tonight is actually doing what I do, being a ministry leader at a church. Maybe your cross is being a mom who brings her kids into a godly view of a whole family. What's your cross? Do you even know it? Kenan, can you bring down the lights, put it on like a worship setting? I need everyone to stand up really quick. Stand up with me. Can you guys just really quick, just do this with me? Can you guys all close your eyes, bow your heads? I just want to take a moment of honesty for us. How many of you would right now, you would know, you know what? Richard, I have a pretty good idea of the cross that God has called me to, and I'm working really hard to head in that direction. How many of you guys are in this room? That's you. Raise your hand. Awesome. Awesome. That doesn't exclude you from our response tonight, by the way. How many of you guys, you're in the room and you're like, I have no idea the cross, the wall that God has called me to. I have no idea, Richard, so this is really difficult for me. Body. Put your hands down. How many of you guys have been working really hard? And maybe you've came down from the wall, or maybe you're really tempted right now to walk away from the cross for just a little bit. Raise your hand if that's you. A lot of you guys, hands down. All right, look at me. We have to stay focused. When that thought, when that temptation to leave comes in, to come down from the wall, what are you guys going to say? Can't come down. Can you guys, if that's really what you're going to try and do in life, can you just say that with me? Just say, I can't come down. Say, I'm doing a great work and I can't come down. Say it again. Say, I'm doing a great work. I can't come down. Say it one more time. I'm doing a great work and I can't come down. There's going to be people that even as Jesus was on the cross and they were calling him to do the easier road, people are like, hey, why are you doing it that way? Things could be so much easier. And you have to say, I'm doing a great work. I can't come down. I'm doing a great work and I can't come down. Because here's the interesting thing if you think about it. Jesus could have died a lot easier than he did. He could have took matters into his own hand and he could have hung himself, committed suicide. He could have had one of his disciples do it. Jesus, I mean, there's just about a million other ways that Jesus could have died. But he wasn't called to that way. He was called to the cross. And he kept his eyes on the cross. Tonight, this response time is going to be very simple. We have cards up here. I almost fell. All it has is a picture of a cross on it and blank on the back. Tonight, some of you guys, if you already, you know what your cross is, you're heading in that direction, and what I want you to do is you're going to write on here what your cross is. You're going to write on here what your cross is. And you're going to put this in your wallet. That's why I made it a business card size. You can put it in your wallet. You can put it somewhere easy where you won't lose it. You can put it in your phone case if you want to, but somewhere easy where you won't lose it, to remind yourself to see your cross, to see your wall. And there's other of you where you have no idea. Maybe you know a little bit and you want to write it down. Maybe you want to write down, my cross is to be a woman of purity. Maybe you're going to write down, I want to be a man worth following. It doesn't just have to be like a job. God's calling you to who he wants you to be. And just start there. And maybe you keep this, and maybe throughout the years, you just add to it. But tonight, I want us to leave here reminded of our great call, our great work, and not to come down. So if you know what it is, I'm going to invite you to come up here and just write it down. If you don't, I want you to spend some time with God and just say, you know what, God, what are some of the things? I may know a couple of them, but God, I just really want to know what you're calling me to, what your cross is. And you may not get the whole picture tonight, because maybe what God wants to do is sometimes God doesn't give us the answers, because sometimes when we get the answers, we don't think we need God anymore. So sometimes he's like, you know, I'm not going to give you the answer right now. I want you to be close to me and watch me guide you in that direction. So I'm going to pray. When I say amen, I invite you guys all to come up here and start writing your great work, your cross on the cards. Jesus, you are our example. God, you lived thousands of years ago, but you're still listening to us right now. Not only that, you're in the midst of us in this room right now at this moment. You are trying to whisper to us, God. You are standing right next to us, God. You are preparing the steps we're going to take in our future. And God, all we want is to be obedient to you. All we want, Jesus, is to be obedient to you, to be close to you, and to trust you. So tonight, God, I pray, God, that you would restore the zeal to some of these students who maybe have forgotten, or maybe they're stepping away from their cross, God, that you would restore that passion, Jesus. And for the others, God, that they have no idea what you called them to be or to do, God, would you, God, just draw them close to you so that they can know the sound of your voice, so that they can know what it feels like to be in your presence. And then they can know that they're not going to go anywhere that doesn't feel like your presence. Speak to us tonight, Lord. Amen. All right, guys, come out of your seats and grab some of these cards. There's pens if you don't have one. Spend time in prayer. Write down, remind yourself. And some of you guys tonight need to say in your own words that you're doing a great work and you're not going to come down.